This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services located on Kern Street in Exeter, Pennsylvania. Springtime is here, and that means it is time to start thinking about getting your yard looking its best. Do you really want to be in your yard all weekend digging things up and planting something new? Wouldn't you rather spend time with your family by the pool or doing fun things with the kids this summer instead of cutting the grass? Let the professionals at Keller's handle the hard stuff. They are family-owned and operated and looking forward to assisting you. Visit them on their social media page for more information. Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Get your free estimate today. Welcome to the Popko Project Podcast, a platform for the discussion and discovery of arts and entertainment. We focus on highlighting people and events that add value to the world around us. Visit us on all social media platforms by searching the Popko Project or visit our website at thepopkoproject.com. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for listening. And we're live, just like that.
Look at that. It's like magic.
Shaun Daney, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. As you know, this is a podcast that's typically music related, but I did want to create it to, just talk about good people doing good things. And you reached out with this video. This new video, and I thought I was getting spammed, and I'm glad you said it wasn't spam because I was like, what is going on here? Did this guy get hacked?
Yeah, well, especially because I sent it in Messenger, right? So that makes it even more sketchy.
Yeah. So, Shaun, I know of you. Thank you to the internets. I know your name. You're always very supportive of what I do. You're commenting, you're liking. So thank you for all that. And I know that your name's associated with Benchmark Mortgage.
Yeah.
Which my home mortgage is through Benchmark. So when you reached out to talk about what we're going to talk about, I was pumped. I'm glad you dig what I do, and I'm glad you find value in it. And I wanted to get to know the guy behind the name that I've seen.
I appreciate that. And it's the same, because I think, so often I have a lot of relationships kind of like the one that you and I sort of have, right, on social media, because we meet a lot of people, and I think that gives us a platform to connect, but yet you and I have never really connected face to face. And, and obviously I've been following the podcast and the things that you're doing. I'm a music guy. I'm not unfortunately blessed with the voice or the talent to do anything in space. Same. I worked at the Gallery of Sound for a long, long time, if that counts.
That's one better than me.
Yeah, right. So, but no.
I think I applied at the Gallery of Sound. I didn't get in.
Oh my gosh.
They made it very difficult. They wanted people who really knew music. And I guess at a young age, I didn't know it yet.
Sure. You know what the caveat is that like, I knew it so well then. Right. And, nowadays, like I always thought that was a skill that I'd carry with me, but I've stuck with the genre, like in that specific era of music that I like so much. And the new stuff, I'm at a loss. I would not get the job today.
Yeah, it's tough. And, it's funny because I've worked a lot with Joe Nardone Jr.
Yeah.
Over my time at the Weekender and then in radio. And he was just actually at Axelrad, where I work now, picking up some shirts for Record Store Day. Yep. So it's funny that, as a young, probably 16 years old, I so badly wanted a job at the Gallery of Sound, but my test taking abilities weren't at peak performance. And now I work with Joe on a regular basis. So it's kind of funny how things work out.
It is. And, for me, like at that time, that was really the only job I wanted. I was like an MTV kid, so I had to work at the Gallery of Sound. And I started there back in the days when like it was the corner and, had a sneaker store where the Orange Julius once was. And then it became a sneaker store. And, then it expanded out to the corner, and had that whole corner of the mall. It was a fun time to be part of the Gallery of Sound, but what probably remains one of the best jobs I ever had, have ever had. And Joe remains a friend, and they're just good people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was good seeing him the other day. But we're here to talk about you.
Yeah.
So give me a little bit of a background before we get into what you're here to talk about. Talk to me about who Shaun Daney is.
Oh man. So that's complicated. That's complicated. I mean, who is Shaun Daney? So probably above all things, I'm a husband and a father. I mean, that's the great joy of my life. And I've been, blessed with an amazing family and my kids that keep me busy. They're my best friends. So, that's probably, paramount. I was in the commercial printing business for 20 plus years with a company called Pain Printery out in the back mountain. That's how like most people locally probably know me in that way. And we had a business that was doing great for a long time, and I started to notice the industry changing. And I think it's an industry that has its niches, and those companies, there are companies within the space that are thriving. But for us, the market that we served, the technology was changing. More monies were shifting to digital channels. Like I started to see a trend that was a challenge long term. Ultimately, we ended up selling the business in 2019, and when we did that, we were acquired by a company called Alcom Printing Group out of Harleysville. And Alcom are great; they're great people, and they welcomed us in. We kept a small staff here in the back mountain to manage our accounts and help transition things in. But I knew long term that print wasn't going to be for me long term. But I wanted to kind of, like I said, stay on and help transition accounts in. And, it was just kind of serendipitous in how it happened. Like my father, when I grew up, was in the savings and loan industry, which is nearly non-existent now. And at the time, he was, I believe, president of the homeowners association, local homeowners, home builders association. Was very involved in the mortgage business and loved it. And I, as a kid, I knew he was in banking, was in finance. Beyond that, not much until everything sort of blew up in that world. And then, Eric McCabe, much like you, I was the client. My wife and I, right out of school, when we were engaged, we didn't know what we were doing. We wanted to buy a house. Somehow we got referred into Eric, and we just became quick friends. He gave us guidance, and we had done several transactions because as our family grew, so did the need for space. Eric was always there, and his wife, Ann, and my wife became very good friends, and he and I became very good friends. So we're out having dinner one night, probably August of last year, right? And he's like, so, what's your plan? He's like, I know you don't want to stay in print. What's your trajectory? What do you intend to do? And I mean, to be honest with you, I was not sure. Just considering the gallery sound, if Joe would have me back. And he's like, listen, he's like, why don't you consider the mortgage business, consider Benchmark, because it's hard to get good people in any business. It's a challenge. And he said, ultimately, what happens in that business is the loan officers get very busy, knee deep in the projects, in the paperwork, helping the client, but all those clients, generally come in through referral sources. And it's very important that lenders, like any lender really, are providing value to those referral sources. And I think Eric was like, you fit this bill perfectly. You come in, you can learn this market, you can build these relationships, you can provide value. And I took a leap of faith is really how that happened. And so in September, I ended up starting to work with Benchmark, and it's been great. It's been a great experience. Too much?
No, that's what I wanted. And what position do you hold there?
So I'm a hybrid position for them. So I'm a licensed loan originator in the state of Pennsylvania, but mainly so that I can have those conversations. I'm not originating loans for Benchmark, right? So we have a team of loan officers. So I'm doing a few different things. I'm managing the marketing side of the business. I'm out trying to strengthen existing relationships, build new ones. I'm also like, and the funny part about that bucket is like, I legitimately am just paid to kind of help, like to kind of get out and provide help where needed. Then there's a recruitment bucket, so we have some goals to expand the business and grow into new areas. And so I'm doing research, I'm vetting potential candidates, actively seeking people that fit a profile. We're looking for certain type of people to join the business. And that's new to me. So I'm learning that as I go. So those are really the primary buckets. It's building those relationships. It's strengthening existing ones. It's working on the recruitment side, and helping to promote the business. And then there's like kind of what led to today's conversation. So one of the things that I really loved about Benchmark is they're a charitable like organization. They encourage people to raise money for nonprofits and support nonprofits and engage the community as much as they can. And I've always really wanted to do that. I'm sorry, because I know I'm talking a lot, but this is a good story.
Go for it.
So when I joined the company, one of the first things that I was exposed to was a veterans event in the Lehigh Valley with one of our other branches. And there I met a gentleman by the name of Amos Benjamin. Well, first of all, there was a gentleman by the name of Chad Fleming, a gentleman by the name of Amos Benjamin. And these guys are, these are real American heroes. These are guys that put their lives on the line and made sacrifice. And, Amos suffered a traumatic brain injury, and Chad, I believe, was, involved in, I believe it was basically an attack with an explosion on his caravan, and was actually, I believe, I don't want to give the wrong information, but, Chad redeployed, basically after having a prosthetic leg, and so I had dinner with these guys and was up at 4 a.m. hiking with Amos in Lehigh Valley. And I left there and I was like, oh my God, like, truthfully, I never felt like less of a human being. It's amazing what these guys are doing. And this community is one that needs support. And so it's a big deal for Benchmark. I mean, now Benchmark is a residential lender, right? So they don't only do VA loans. They're VA loan specialists for sure, and they're a company that'll bend over backwards for that community. And that was a big part of it. They're like, listen, please engage this community and look to support these organizations. And it was actually Amos Benjamin that, having dinner one night, told me about a race that he put together down south and what a tremendous impact it had. And I'm like, we're going to do that here. And the Hometown Heroes 5K was born.
Isn't it amazing when you meet people and they make you feel like you're lazy and like you're just not doing enough?
Right? Does it happen too often?
Yeah. And it's kind of like, man, maybe I'm just really not doing my part. I don't know.
What's funny is, there's that for sure. But I would say that when I say what I think I meant by that is these are guys that are so inspirational. Amos said to me when we were chatting, and I even told him that, I'm like, wow, like it's, that exact thing. Boy, I've never felt like less of a human being. And he's like, listen, here's the thing you have to understand. He's like, you don't have to have worn a uniform to serve, and he's like, you can serve this community just by going out. And truthfully, like it's, for some of these veterans, getting them in a home, it provides a foundation for them that legitimately saves lives, and again, the work that Benchmark does, I don't know if I mentioned this, but like I just got back from Texas. I spent a week in Texas and I attended an event called Boot and Shooting and on Thursday. And it's their big fundraiser in Texas. It's hosted at the Dallas Gun Club, I believe. And it's a day of skeet shooting and silent auctions. And they have this every year. And every year, this event draws such a huge crowd that they raise north of $1 million every year. And they support an organization called the Brain Treatment Foundation. That's how we came to know of Amos Benjamin, right? Because he suffered a traumatic brain injury. And the treatment, there's effective treatment for these brain injuries, but it's very expensive. So Boot and Shoot was created to fund scholarships that would allow those that suffered from traumatic brain injury to get access to that care. And coming back from that event, I would love to see something like that here locally, something where the community just really embraces it and supports it. And I'll tell you, just like you agreeing to jump on, this podcast and help me to get the word out. It's incredible the response that we've received so far. It's really amazing. People are embracing it. And so I'm hoping that we have an amazing day.
Yeah, well, let's get right into it. I mean,
Yeah.
you reached out, Hometown Heroes 5K, coming up on June 11th at Kirby Park.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about that event and what people can expect, what people can do to sign up, what they can do to volunteer, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So right out of the gate, the best resource for the race is the website, right? Which is very easy. Just hometownheroes5k.com. And on that website, you'll find a link to register for the event. You'll be able to learn about all of our amazing sponsors. That list is growing by the day. You'll be able to read about Camp Freedom. So Camp Freedom is our beneficiary this year. So since I have been with Benchmark, I've been working to engage a lot of these local veteran and first responder groups and charities and trying to help support them and raise funds. And I had not had an opportunity to do something with the good people at Camp Freedom in Carbondale. I was up at their facility. They took the time to give me a tour. And what they do is they provide healing through outdoor activities for disabled first responders and veterans. You know, whether that's a hunt or whether that's a hike or whether that's fishing, they have events throughout the year and they bring people in small groups. So that creates a camaraderie, and there's a healing process to that. You know, there's a common thread that you tend to find when really engaging with our veteran community. You know, and some of the things that they go through,
And what
there's
is
a
that?
commonality.
What is that?
Say again.
What would you say that is? The common thread.
Well, you know, look at the suicide rate, right, among veterans. It's astronomical. You know, and you know, I think that there's a lack of community, there's a lack of support for these individuals, and when they return home and try to adjust to normal life. And you know, Amos is an example of that, and he tells an amazing story. We had him in last, actually, I want to say maybe November of last year, and held an event up at the Mohegan Sun, and he tells a little bit about, you know, the path that he's been on and how he's landed today, and it's both incredibly sad, but also incredibly inspirational, is the best way to describe it. But so many veterans that I've connected with have walked that path. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it just takes organizations like Camp Freedom, you know, and we have a lot, you know, Warrior Strong, and who else do we have locally? I'm trying to think of, you know, of course it escapes me now, but, you know, we have a number of Equines for Freedom, another great local group, Heroes Hearthstone, another great local group. There are these small little veteran charitable organizations that are out trying to do good. But when you have lots of people doing small acts of good, they collectively accomplish big things.
Yeah. And that's really great. I mean, and I don't want to make this a political thing or no. anything like that, but you know, that's exactly what you said. It's a common theme. And yeah. We're constantly hearing, you know, our veterans come home and they're not taken care of. And, you know, from what you've witnessed, and maybe you don't know, but I'm curious to pick your brain. What else could be done? I mean, I feel like all the work and all the pressure is you know, the people around them, which is fine. It's great. I'm glad there's groups like, you know, what you mentioned, and there's people like you know, recognizing this and doing something about it. But like, what else can be done? I mean, it has to come from the government, right?
Yeah, and there are resources there, right? And so it's hard for me to answer the question, right? Because my exposure, truthfully, has been since September, right? To really kind of dig into that, because there are resources available, but even with that in place, right? I still hear these same stories, and it takes these other groups outside the government to, you know, to make an impact. So, you know, I don't know. I wish I could answer that question. I'm hoping, right, that in time I can, because I'm hoping to be more involved. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a shame. But again, like I've had people reach out to me. They've connected to Amos, right? You know, who lives, you know, Amos lives south, right? He said it a million times, like, you know, so Amos lives down south, and somehow local people have connected to Amos, just probably, maybe from our event, maybe from other things that he's done. Amos will be in Allentown on Wednesday. I'm going to Allentown to visit with him on Wednesday. They've connected to him for support. He's connected them with me. And then I've put them in touch with the contacts I've made with these local organizations. But, there's definitely other resources available to them, and yet they find themselves to guys like me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think it's a really complicated question.
Yeah, I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I didn't know how
okay.
much. I didn't know how much you may have seen already. But yeah, it's a shame. But thankfully, like I said, there's people like you, and there's organizations like Benchmark, and the things you mentioned earlier. So the goal for Hometown Heroes, obviously, the beneficiary is Camp Freedom.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the event itself?
Yeah. So basically what we're trying to do with the event was, when I was trying to come up with, hey, number one, it's like, we're going to have a 5K. We're going to do it as a walk run because we want it to be accessible to all skill levels. If you want to come and go hard, right, and go for a personal best, right, a PR, do it, right? If you want to win your age group, do it. If you want to come with your family and walk it, do it. I just want community engagement and involvement, right? So whether you're there to walk or run, we just want you there, right? So what will happen when you get there? So we're going to have something that we're calling a hero mile, which the way we envision it is this. So the course was ultimately, I took bits and pieces from, do you remember the Wilkes-Barre Duathlon?
Shaun, we've never met face to face, but I can assure you that my body isn't meant for running. I barely walk, right? So no. I mean, I heard of it, obviously, but yeah.
We had an event around the square called the Wilkes-Barre Duathlon, and it took place a piece of it on the square, a piece of it on the levee system. So it was a walk run, and it was an awesome event. I really enjoyed it, and then ultimately it went away. But I thought to myself, okay, so if we're going to do this 5K, I wonder if we could take pieces of that course, because I liked that course, and it's accessible, like I said, to all skill levels. And how do we take that and amend it? So we created a course that takes place through Kirby Park and along the levee system, and then down along the lower stretch of Nesbitt Park. And what's beautiful about it is you never encounter traffic. The entire course, right, is off of roadways. So I said, it's wonderful for families because it's incredibly safe. And what will happen is, when you ultimately will go down the levee, you'll hit a turnaround point when you get how far out, and then you're going to turn around, you're going to be routed back. But when you're routed back, we're going to take you down the lower section of Nesbitt Park, right along the river. You familiar with that area? Boat launch area?
Yep.
So we want to create in that space what we're calling the hero mile. And so we're going to line that roadway with first responder vehicles, with military vehicles. I met with the Armory and filed some paperwork, and they're going to be there on site. They're bring a tank. They're going to bring a Humvee. We're hoping to have police vehicles, ambulance, Mission Barbecues bring in their big rig to bring down the Hero Mile. And what I love about it is, again, if spectators come down, number one, it creates a really unique section for race participants, and an idea to really connect with the community we're trying to support. But the other cool thing about it is with those vehicles will be representatives from that borough or from that armed forces group, right? And so the community can actually engage with these people, have conversations with them, talk to them about their day. And I think it just brings something special, to the event.
And I think you told me that there's going to be, you said, like military and first responder vehicles. So if you had a child, or, would that be okay to bring them to the event and have them experience?
Yeah, 100%, and that's really what I'm hoping for. I would love to see families there walking it together, or just coming down to support it. We had engaged with the Luzerne Foundation. So doing this, right, I had never done that before. And so I'm like, hey, I want to create this race, but, Benchmark is a business entity. This is a charitable race. And so they're like, look, we need to find a way to do this that's incredibly transparent, and And so it was somehow suggested that I connect with the Luzerne Foundation. So I know the Luzerne Foundation like I know Johnny Popko, right? Like I know them, right? But we hadn't really met. And so I knew a little bit about what they did. And I kind of casted the line out and reached out to them and said, hey, like I was told that you may be able to help with what I'm trying to do here. And they did. And they did it in such a wonderful way. They're like, oh my gosh, like, please come down and meet with us. Tell us about the event. They loved the idea of something like this in the community. They feel like the timing is right. Like coming into the summer, like it's the right time for people to come out and just do something outside. And what was cool was, so they basically we set up the race organization as a fund of the Luzerne Foundation, right? So all sponsorship dollars, all those donations, all that stuff goes into our fund with the Luzerne Foundation. And so we have control over how the funds are managed, but they manage all of the nonprofit aspects of a race like this, which, to be honest with you, I don't know that stuff.
Sure.
So they kind of really came in and they're doing some heavy lifting. We're organizing the event. They're managing the transparency of the transaction, and really they're our charitable arm for the race. So they've been pretty wonderful through the process.
That's smart because there's oftentimes things like this are put together, and you hear horror stories about a fraction of the money going to the cause.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Shaun put it on for himself, right? Obviously not
Right.
the case. This is all on the up and up. But yeah, it's a shame that people have taken advantage of things like that. But so that's smart to do. Obviously, this is all on the up and up and full transparency. And as far as the Luzerne Foundation, like what I've never even heard of that before.
Sure.
What do they do?
So they have this awesome little building, just very close to the accelerator, right? So the accelerator building in Wilkes-Barre.
Yep.
Okay. Shout out to the accelerator. If you're
Jones.
staring at what's that?
Chris Jones.
Yeah, Chris Jones. Chris and I worked with them at LSEO for a time. They have great people there.
Oh, okay.
He's been a friend and a good guy. He's been good to me over the years. So, but anyway, so they are just, if you're facing the accelerator, they're like two buildings to the right, and they have a small little brick building there, and they're like a charitable arm. They have all these funds, right? So you can establish charitable funds within the organization. They help you to manage that aspect of it. They use those funds to support other funds, right? But there's a small, like, to manage it, there's like a 1% or something, and it's all used to support other funds, and how it works. But, and so, for example, they're like, hey, leading out to these other charitable funds, how can you guys support the Hometown Hero 5K fund and whatnot? But yeah, I wish I understood all and how they function, but they're literally, I think their tagline is like, here to do good or something to that effect. You have to Google it, but that's legitimately what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And they've created an outlet for me to be able to do this race. Like I said, and so they've been great, and Dave and Diane are the two people that I deal with predominantly there. But yeah, if you ever have a need to do something in that realm, like, I'll happily make an introduction. They're great people there.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned sponsors. Obviously, things like this don't happen without them.
Right.
As a guy who's been in this area, obviously you're very community involved and you're personable and you basically, build relationships. Was it hard to get people to jump on board? And do you want to mention some of those sponsors?
Yeah. In fact, just you know what I'm doing? I'm pulling it right up because I don't want to overlook a single person, because
Sure.
I'm legitimately so grateful to everybody that have reached out, and it was amazing. Like that's been such a cool part of it. I have reached out and said, hey, like, would you guys support this race to a number of people? No one has told me no. And I've had people that have called and been like, hey, like, I've heard about this race and I want to support it. What's your top level sponsor? So I'll just tell you a few of them right now that we have, mainly because it's amazing. And I'm so thrilled. Lewis and Freeman Real Estate, Independent Graphics, obviously Benchmark Mortgage, Tirana Law, Old Mill Pine, Cap Trust, We also have Halibut Blue, Wet Paint Printing and Design, AJ Consultants, JW Hoban Insurance, Garnett Insurance, Benko Dental, Move Better, Eddie Mack Construction, Cohen Haydu, Pennsylvania American Water, and those are just the sponsors. I have a whole list on the site. You can see it too. That are special thanks, and that's to everybody that has lent a hand to help me promote it. I need a Popko Project logo. I want to get it on the site just to say thank you. But yeah, like the community has really come out so far, and I'm going to keep pushing because I want to raise as much as we can. So if someone's listening to this and they say, hey, we'd love to sponsor this race or get involved, you can reach out to me through the website. All my contact information is on there. And listen, I'm happy for $10. I'm happy for $5. I'm happy for 1,000. I've had people give me 1,000, so I'm not turning anybody away, because all those monies, are going to go to Camp Freedom. And what I want to do is, again, next year, I want to do this racing in, and I want to find new, veteran or first responder charities to support. But anything I could do to promote the sponsors that help to make this event a success, I'm going to do it. Popko Project, right? So thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Of course. I was going to ask you if it was too late to be a sponsor. So that's cool that's available still.
Yeah.
The website for that again is
it's hometownheroes5k.com.
Cool.
There's again, the race course is on there. All the sponsors are on there. Information, background around Camp Freedom is on there if you want to learn about who they are, what their message is. I also have a link with some of those other local veteran charities that I mentioned. So if you want to learn about some of those other charities that happen to be local, that's on the page too. And you could even, if you want to support them, you can donate to them through this website also, which is cool. They're always looking for support. If you're a local veteran or first responder charity and you want to be on this website, I'll put you there. Just reach out to me. You know what I mean? And if you want to have an outlet, I'd love to have you be part of it, and if we can support it. And that's actually another thing that I mentioned. So all of those other charities I've invited to come down, put up a table, spread your message. If you want to talk to people about what you're doing to help that community, please do it. And so that invitation goes out to anybody else, right? If you have a veteran or first responder organization, if you're trying to do something good, or if you're not sure if you're okay to be at this event, call me, right? Ask me. That's really what I want, right? Participation. We're going to have an amazing waffle truck there in the morning too.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Everybody loves waffles.
Yeah, you should get that coffee shop, Abide.
Yeah,
down
yeah. I'll reach out to those guys. I've been there. That's a great spot. It's a great spot.
Sling some coffee.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a goal?
I don't. I'll be honest with you. So I've never done events, right? In my previous life in the printing business, I've done a lot of things and a lot of marketing related things. I've not organized events. Last year, when they asked me to organize this event at the Mohegan Sun for Amos coming into town around Veterans Day, I was like, yeah, sure. I'll do it. I'll do an event. I had not done one before, so I was a little moderately concerned. I was a lot concerned. But I just started reaching out, making these connections, asking people to support it, asking people to come out, and hear this message. Cause I had heard it. I heard it on a hike at 4 a.m. in Lehigh Valley, and it was something worth hearing. His story is just, it's like I said, it's just incredible. It's inspirational. So I'm like, okay, now I've got to do this event. And I'll be honest with you, like I was shitting. I was straight shitting. And up until 5 minutes, because what happens is people, right, in my experience, my limited experience, you go out and people RSVP. You can count on some of those RSVPs not going to be able to make it, right? Not because they had bad intentions, but stuff happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? A kid gets sick or this happens, work gets called in, whatever that is, right? Things happen. I understand that. But I wasn't sure what to expect. I knew it was going to happen. And I just wanted to have a good showing because I'm new, right? And so I wanted to show, hey, look, I can make this happen. I can create a successful event. And I honestly, like I said, Amos traveled in to do this. I wanted to create a good platform for him. So I was feeling a tremendous amount of pressure. Like in truth, I was feeling it. And I'll tell you what, the event, I got there on the day of the event and sweating bullets, hoping people would show, right? Had a big room, lots of tables. A half hour for the event, 2 people came strolling in. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's it. Like all these people, nobody's coming. And I didn't even know what to think. I will tell you, like I was a mess. And then the minute the event was about to start, right, the actual start time, people just started rolling in. And we packed the room, and it was amazing, right? And I cannot tell you the relief that I felt. Like literally once people were on the mic, like I had to like step out. You know what I mean? I had to get out of that room and just be like, like just exhale it, drop down to the fetal position for 25, 30 seconds. Nobody saw it. It was cool. But I had to get that out. And I think so with this event, like I don't have expectations. I really don't, because in the end, if we raise $10,000 for this charity, what a huge win that is. If we raise $5,000 for a charity, what a huge win that is.
Sure.
So I don't have expectations other than the fact that I hope that people come out and support it. I think it's a great family event. It's a great way to get moving, right? Nowadays, we all have the ability, like there's so many things out there. I don't have to go to the store. You know what I mean? That stuff's coming to my house. Like we have all these options to not get up off our butts and move. I'm saying here's an amazing cause, right? For us as families, as individuals to get out and move and do something together, like, and legitimately save lives, right? Like this saves lives, right? So that's what I hope. I hope people are like, you know what? Let's do that. Like, let's go out and be a part of something, and let's build something here locally that we can have every year that just does good things. That's my goal. If there's a goal, I know it's a broad stroke, but
hey,
that's the goal.
You got to start somewhere, right?
You got to start somewhere.
Let's get the first one under your belt.
That's
and
it.
Then we'll make it an annual event.
That's the plan.
So this is the inaugural Hometown Heroes 5K. This is the inaugural. So let's make it an annual event, so that way you can go second annual. Yeah. Make sure you use the right word though, because nothing gets me more angry than people saying first annual. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Not possible.
Yep. No, I'm with you. And then what's cool is then I could bug you again, and we'll talk about what a great success the first one was.
Absolutely. But you're right though, and I don't want to get off. Like we talked about the event and all that, but we're living in a time where we need to get out of our houses. And I just talked to someone today. There's businesses that are starting to bring people back to the office. They've been working from home for 2 years, and people are getting very mad that they want to be brought back to the office. And I was like, in my opinion, like I think going to work is a good thing.
Yeah.
And they're pounding their chest and saying like, I can get just as much done from home as I can from the office. And I understand that, and I agree with it. And you know what, there's less traveling, less pollution, yada, yada, yada. But as humans, I think we need to be surrounded by other humans.
I agree. Yeah. So. And honestly, and you're probably the same way, right? So you're a guy that hosts a podcast. So you appreciate social interaction. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like that too. I thrive on it. Right. So when we were quarantining, that was not good for my soul. Right. Sure. Like I'm not a space invader. I'm a hugger for sure. Right. But like I thrive on that. And I'm not saying I don't mind. I'll work a day from home, and you do get stuff done. Yeah. But being around that social aspect, that's why it's so important with kids at school. Right. Like for my youngest son, Mason, for me, like it was heartbreaking for me. Right. Because he was in kindergarten when all this happened, missed a lot of his kindergarten year, missed a lot of his first grade year. And Mason, as a result, he is very comfortable being alone. Right. And it's very easy for him to sit in his room, and hop on a system with headphones and communicate with his friends. And I understand that's how communication is done to some degree now. Right. Mm-hmm. But I used to come home from work and I'd be exhausted, but then I would come downstairs and I would build a fort. I would play trucks. Anything he wanted to do, I was going to do, because he didn't have the buddies that we had in kindergarten, first grade, and so I think a lot of families they have to be dealing with that same thing. And that's why events like this, and there's lots of them, there's lots of reasons to get out as a family. And that's, for me, it's like, okay, Mason, come down here and we're going to walk this together. Like we're going to, you know what I mean? I think that it's just healthy to get out and to move. And these give us a great reason to do it.
Yeah.
I know that I couldn't be the only family that experienced that with my son,
Yeah. I mean, you kind of, I wanted to talk about, who Shaun Daney was as a family man. So that was a good segue into that.
Yeah.
You have one child too?
I have three.
Three. Okay.
Yeah.
Geez.
Yeah. Oh. I have three sons. So my wife has 4 immature men in the house.
Perfect. Poor woman. So. Yeah. Poor. That's terrible.
Yeah. My oldest Landon is, he's 15. He'll be 16 in the summer. My middle son, Eli, is 13. And my youngest Mason is 8. So yeah, they're my buddies. And, my older two coped with the situation better.
Yeah.
But they had already had that friend group, Yeah,
but that's still tough. I mean, I was fortunate. My son's 4, so he was, he's still in daycare.
Yeah.
And he really didn't know what was going on. So
yeah,
it was fortunate. And God forbid, I don't know how families did it where they had to, homeschool and virtual school, and have jobs. How does that even work? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're gonna have a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Gonna be driving.
Oh yeah.
So that's gotta be terrifying.
It's terrifying. And you know what? I'm doing those things now that like my parents did, taking them to the huge parking lot at night,
right.
Like teaching them the basics, teaching them the K-turn. And how weird is it when the car has like a backup camera? Like, I'm like, this kid's he's gonna rip it out on the highway. He's got like all the technology. Yeah. They got it easy.
They do. I drove my first car. I drove was a stick. I had to learn that way.
Yeah, me too. I remember the first car I bought was a stick, and I had to have a friend drive it home because I didn't know how to drive it. They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I was dating a girl who lived very close to me, right at the road. I could walk to her house, and she was 16 a month before I was.
Yeah,
and her parents had like property that like he was able to drive a car. So we actually learned driving around her parents' property with a stick because my car was a stick. Then I had to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I remember going for my test and I was praying that I didn't have to do the parallel parking. I guess it was K-turn was no problem. Parallel parking was the issue.
Yep.
I failed.
I failed my first driver's test before I even got on the course. I mean, how about that?
How did you do that?
I took my mother's car broke down, and I was like, you know how it is. You want that driver's license. I'm like, Mom, I got to take this test today. Come on. So she's like, oh, call your Aunt Shirley and see if you could use her Subaru. So my Aunt Shirley was like, sure. So we go up to the driver's test, and I pull in, and they're like, oh, show me where this is. Show me where that is. And I'm flipping buttons because I had no idea. I'd never been in the car a day of my life. And guy's writing all the notes down. I looked at him. I'm like, I failed this already, didn't I? He's like, yeah. I said, well, I'm going to rip it around the course anyway for practice. So yeah, that's the first time. Didn't make it.
Yeah, I got busted during the test. I don't know if I was speeding or I was going too slow. I just remember him asking me what the speed limit was, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea. He's like, yeah, okay, that's not good.
Well, you know what the scary thing is too is like nowadays, like I'll be terrified, truthfully, and like my kids, like I said, I'm fortunate. Landon is a responsible kid, but again, nowadays when we were in the car, we didn't have cell phones. Nowadays there's so many distractions. So my rule with them with driving is the cell phone has to go in the glove box.
Right.
And that only prevents him from being stupid.
Right.
I try to tell him that just keeps you from being stupid. That doesn't mean that, everybody else on that road is not being stupid. Like, so you have to pay attention, it happens that fast. Mm-hmm. I'll be like a mess. Like my anxiety is going to be like, I'm already stressing about it.
It's scary being a parent, man. And I don't know how old you are. You have 3 kids. You're obviously in it. You've been doing it for a long time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just like, I feel like we sound like we're old people. Like, oh, back in my day, but like, the world is a different place.
It is.
Hands down. Now,
and it's a different place fast.
Yes, very fast, but it's different now than when our parents were parents, raising us, because there was no internet. There was no, I don't know. There's probably different things to worry about, obviously, but there was just like this different generation where, they kind of just let us do our own thing, like go ride your bikes, be home by, when it's dark outside and shit like that. But
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, my son's 4. We have one on the way.
I know. Congratulations. I saw that on the book.
Yes, of course. It's not real unless it's on social media.
I know. It's got to be on the gram. But no, I saw that. And congratulations. I'm very happy for you.
It's been a long road. Some issues and losses along the way, and that's a discussion for another day. That's
yeah.
But but it's a little girl, so I know how like protective and like worried I am about my son, and I can't imagine how I'm going to be as a father of a little girl. It's
sure.
I'm still in denial. I keep going to the appointments, and they know that we know what it is, so they'll like I'll say, "You sure you don't see a penis in there?" Like, did you spell male wrong? Did you put an FE on the front of that by accident? Like,
yep.
So I'm like, I kind of know what I'm doing with that. I kind of know. Like, I'm not a pro, but I don't know. So I'm scared, terrified.
Yeah. No, listen, I have 2 teenage nieces. I do not have daughters, but I have two teenage nieces, and they're terrific, and I love them, and I'm incredibly stressed about them all of the time. I'm like that uncle, unfortunately. But so if that's the smallest bit of what you're experiencing, just start preparing yourself now.
Well, yeah. Well, I would say I'm not getting any younger. I'm not getting any skinnier. So I'm like, I got to start doing something. I'm like, thankfully, I have a son that hopefully he'll like look out for.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be in any shape to like fight a young man. I only have one gun. I'm not, that's just for like, that's like locked in a safe. I don't even like plan on ever using that. I've only shot it on the range just so I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. That's same with me, by the way. Exact same story with me. I've got one, shoot at the range to be familiar. Exact same story.
Yeah. You have to be familiar,
You do.
But yeah, I don't know. Life is.
It is. It's the kids are, like I said, they have been for me, they're my buddies, like that's the most important job. Right. So, and that,
I was late tonight because I was putting my kid to bed. He's like, I said, all right, buddy, go to bed. Like, I was going to go up with his mom. He's like, but I want you to take me. I'm like, I got some work to do. And he's like, but I want you to take me. So I'm like, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Sean will be cool.
Yeah. Always, buddy. Always. That's the priority.
Yeah. Whenever I'm late for these, it's because I try and do them late at night. So that way he's in bed and I can, say goodnight because it's important. That.
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I wish I would have done it earlier. The whole kid thing. My wife and I, for different reasons. I mean, my wife, super smart, to a degree. She decided to go to school for 9 years.
Yeah.
So I say she's smart because she's a pharmacist, so she's very smart. But she decided to go 4 years for undergrad biology. Wanted to be a doctor, then decided she didn't want to be a doctor. She wanted to be a pharmacist, so she did 4 years. But she decided to do that too late, so she went for a year towards her master's in case she didn't get into pharmacy school. Then got into pharmacy school and did 4 years there, so 9 years total. So she's very smart, but not smart in the sense of like mapping things out. But it was good because she's 4 years younger than me. I was an M, maybe a little immature. So, when she was 21, I was 25. We kind of grew up together, had a lot of fun, did some traveling. And I remember saying like, we were like, do we want kids? And we're having a good time. And I remember we were outside of my friend's house about to go in, to a party he was having. And she said that, she would regret it if we didn't. So and I'm like, you're right. Absolutely right. And we had our son, and it was life-changing, obviously. And I wish I did it earlier. And we wanted to have a second that was close in age to him because, she's got 3 siblings, but her closest is 9 years older than she is because she was a happy accident.
Yeah, me too. My sister's 17 years older than me, something like that. So my mother had me when she was 46, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a happy accident as well. Accident.
Right.
I was an accident. Happy, but an accident nonetheless.
Right.
But you know what's funny though? Like honestly, like, and it's probably good that you did it in the way you did it, because you have to be ready for that. You know what I mean? There are a lot of people that have kids too soon, and they're not ready for that. Like, not that they're not emotionally ready for it, but it's good to go out and do all those things and travel. You know what I mean? Like, there's no doubt. Like, so we had kids young. My wife and I had kids young, but we both. That's what I wanted. That's what she wanted at that time. We were ready at that time. We were ready young.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, doing it when it's the right time for you makes you a better parent.
Yeah. Yeah. We just, she was in school forever, and, between debt and being in school and all that kind of stuff, it just wasn't, it wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
It's all good,
it's
man.
all good. But I wanted to real quick go back to Benchmark. I have to give a shout out to Benchmark, and I used them, like I said in the beginning, for our home mortgage.
Yeah.
And almost by accident. I was working at the radio stations at the time, and I wanted to work with a lender that did business with me. I'm sure you're the same kind of person. Like, you're in the community, you have these relationships, you want to always utilize them, and if there's people working with you, you want to work with them.
Yeah.
I won't say who it was, that's not important, but I went with them, and the interest rate just wasn't where it should have been. And I only knew that because everyone's saying how good these rates are, and the person I'm talking to, she's saying, just keep holding off a little bit. They should go down. They should go down. They should go down. Turns out they were holding it kind of high because they didn't want to take on any more mortgages for whatever reason. So I was working with Carmen Winters, Lewis and Freeman.
Yeah, I love Carmen. He's a friend. Yes, good guy. I watched his episode.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, we go back a long ways.
Yeah.
And thankfully I was working with him. He always makes the whole process very seamless. And, he had recommendations of who to use. But I said initially, I wanted to go this route because, like I said, and this wasn't happening. And he put me in the direction of Benchmark. And between the everything just being set up and being able to DocuSign everything, and there was no having to print paperwork and fax things. And it's 2020 at the time. I'm like, why are we even faxing things these days? But Benchmark made it so easy. I think we ended up getting everything together in 2 weeks, which was unheard of. But, Benchmark did a great job, and they were always so attentive and asking things from me that we needed. And they never let me, kind of fall off the radar. So.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. I'm glad that you had that experience. I think I told you, like, I spotted you in the Google reviews the one day, and I'm like, oh man, hey, can I use this?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, they're good people, and like I told you, they've become family to me quick. And I've been fortunate, throughout my career to be surrounded by good people and good teams. Knock on wood, that's been a great thing. And I think that's what's really helped, like, I couldn't jump into a whole new business. How do I go from print to the mortgage business? And I, by the way, I reached out to friends that were realtors, and like, I really vetted the process. What do you think about this company? Do you think I could find success in this business? Like, I did my diligence and vetted them. And like I said, and Eric's a close friend, but I vetted them anyway, like, just to be safe,
Yeah.
And I just heard such good things. And like I said, I think I've been able to do some good things in a short amount of time because of the people around me there. You know what I mean? It's a testament.
One of the coolest things they did, and this is small, but it's always one of the small things that happen that really kind of make an impact, or just keep people talking about it. It was like they sent me a care package, and in it was a coffee mug, a black Sharpie marker, packing tape, and I want to say something else, but it was all stuff like practical moving items. And I just thought that was such a brilliant thing. Like, most people, they want to, sign on the dotted line. We're going to take your mortgage, and you're going to bunch of interest and all that kind of stuff. We'll see you later. Mm-hmm. But I got that package, and I was like, that's such a cool little thing to do.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad, man. I'm glad. I appreciate it. And like, again, like, I think a lot of that, like, everything happens for a reason, like, I really believe that, we had been connected for all this time, never really had a chance to really chat. I reached out to you when I saw the Google review. I'm like, oh my God, he's a customer. That's cool. You know what I mean? You let me use it for social.
Yeah.
Then it was when I saw Carmen's, like I said, I watched the show with Carmen's on. I'm like, because I was thinking, I knew that you focused on the music scene. I love that. Right. Like, that's what drew me to the podcast initially, and then I see my boy Carmen and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, yeah, I got this event. Maybe he'll have a conversation with me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you reached out, because like I said, a lot of times it does focus on music, but again, when I launched this whole thing, I wanted it to be a platform for good. I wanted it to be a platform where people can utilize to promote events and cool things going on. And so I was really thank you so much for reaching out. It really that means a lot to me that you're paying attention, and you saw value in this and what it could do for hopefully getting the word out for your event. But yeah, it's I started doing. Not only did I want to talk to him because I've known him for a long time, and I think he's doing really great things as a realtor. But I started doing like a Weekender Files like series and interviewing past Weekender employees, and just talking about our time, at the Weekender. And because, obviously it's not, I think it's still in print now. I think it prints once a month on a Thursday at the end of the month, which still whatever. But I
loved the Weekender.
Yeah, it's such a sad thing.
I loved it. We had it in the stores, we had it in the galleries all the time.
It was such a great thing. I mean, I'm so thankful that I was like even a part of that, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for that product. So
sure.
But I know we were here to talk about your event. I know we talked about more than that, but
that's okay. I appreciate the time.
I like doing that. I like getting to know the people and have them tell the story about, who they are, why they do what they do, and their families and things like that. Because I think it's, again, it's like, having those conversations and we're people, it's fun.
Yeah, it is. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Why don't we wrap things up? Talk about the event one more time, and the dates, the website, social media, all that kind of stuff.
Great. So again, the event is the Hometown Heroes 5K. You can find all the information about the event and registration at hometownheroes5k.com. We are on Facebook also. If you just look up Hometown Heroes 5K, same thing. You'll find us there. I try to post updates on the race as much as I can. The event will be held on June 11th. Kirby Park, Levy area is the course. Again, that's on the website. You can check it out. Would love to hear from sponsors. Would love for people to come out and support the event. Would love for people to reach out if they're interested in volunteering, because on event day, we're certainly going to need that. And like I said, this year we're going to support Camp Freedom. It's an incredible organization doing great things, so come out and help us save some lives.
Very cool. Well, Shaun, thank you for being one of those shining stars in our community, doing great things, and, Benchmark and all your sponsors that are involved. We definitely need more people like you. So thank you again, and best of luck with raising lots of money to help out, people who need it.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much, Johnny.
No, thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, buddy.
All right, see you.